What is the fucking situation?
We got a report of a possible venting. Someone was apparently acting really sus. Sus actor. Jesus Christ. Just one day from retirement, too.
Sergeant Hub, I think there's someone behind this door.
This is like taking candy from a baby.
Get a peek inside.
My God, what's he doing?
It's a fucking bomb!
Ricardo, get a flash, quick!
Put your hands in the air! Do it now! Police, hands up!
Ready or not? It is not just a game. It is a potential tactical FPS masterpiece. If you were to ask me to point to a model example of an early access game on Steam in recent years, I would struggle to come up with anything that has done it better than Ready or Not has so far. Because I played this game as soon as it was out, and while I did get bored of it quite quickly at the time, there was enough content there to serve as a proof of concept for what Void Interactive was planning to develop, and it was looking good, breath. The gunplay and sound design were fantastic, save for some of the obvious placeholder voice lines. It was clear from the design of both the levels as well as the types of objectives that were showcased that Ready or Not was going to be the return of a long-neglected genre. One that has been the focus of a sort of renaissance as of late. I played it for about a week with some friends on launch, satisfied with what was clearly a solid foundation for a fantastic game. And I forgot about it for like 8 months. Cause, you know, we've all had experiences with early access on Steam. I know how this goes with most games. One does not have to look far to find games on Steam that have been enjoying their place under the early access tag for over 5 years. Sometimes far longer. For some, it can be justified. Okay, Project Zomboid has been in development for almost 9 years at this point, but it's an indie studio trying to make what looks like is going to be a very ambitious project. Then you look at other games like Pavlov VR and you're thinking, I could have sworn this was a full release by now. How the hell is this still in early access? All of this is to say that I have grown much older and wiser, and I've learned not to get too excited about new alphas that pop up out of the blue. But this one's built different. This game gets updates. Big ones. And we're not just talking about bug fixes here. I mean everything from variations of existing maps, new mechanics, massive tweaks to how the suspect AI works, to adding entire new maps to the game that are so fantastic and immersive looking that some people thought that the last one got the game taken off of Steam. Turned out it was a trademark infringement. But you could believe it. I mean, have you seen the new nightclub level? And all of this work results in a game that has been progressively changing for the better. This review will go over every little thing that gives Ready or Not the potential of being the greatest tactical anti-terrorist shooter of all time. But in order to do that, I have to talk about another game first. SWAT 4 is a fantastic game, and one that deserves all of the praise that it has received. But I think the way that most people experience this game now, or at least the way that I strongly recommend for them to play it, is with the Elite Force mod, because come on, the original game was hard-coded to 4x3, and the Stechkov Syndicate expansion added some very nice features that should have probably been patched into the original game, or at the very least included in the SWAT 4 Gold Edition. But the thing about the Elite Force mod is that it is an overall far superior version of the game than the one that was released. SWAT 4 was released under a deadline from Sierra Entertainment, and while the developers at Irrational Games did an amazing job at prioritizing everything that was necessary to make SWAT 4 a good tactical shooter, they simply did not have enough time to see to their full vision of the ultimate special weapons and tactics simulator. This is the reason for why there are still a lot of people that prefer SWAT 3 to SWAT 4, a game that came out almost 6 years prior, and their complaints are honestly valid. Some of the biggest problems I've seen mentioned about the sequel come down to the AI. Teammate AI, to be precise. Your teammates in SWAT 3 are capable of clearing a whole room, arresting or killing anyone inside, and reporting them back to you, stopping just short of cooking you up a delicious, hearty dinner meal. When you've cleared a whole room of people in SWAT 4, it suddenly becomes a point-and-click babysitter simulator unless you do everything yourself. But what does SWAT 4 do really well? The answer to that, my friend, is ambience and immersion. Even if you've never played SWAT 4 yourself, you've most likely at the very least seen the cult mission in the apartment complex. And rightfully so. The mission briefing prepares you for the fact that you're going to arrest a cult leader and their entourage, and the second you enter the building you're greeted with this rundown shithole packed with as much trash lying around as there is pipe bombs. Inevitably you stumble across the basement, where you witness this. This isn't a one-off thing that just randomly occurs 6 or 7 missions into the game. Every level in SWAT 4 can be reverse engineered, backtraced in a way where you can get a pretty good understanding of what happened, or what was ongoing before you and the police department got involved. SWAT 4 has an undeniable aesthetic, and the aesthetics of SWAT 4 by Faceful of Eyes should be a video that you add to your watch list if this sort of thing interests you. Finally, we're back to the main topic of this video. And the reason why I just went off about the SWAT franchise for the past few minutes is because Ready or Not is basically looking like it's going to be SWAT 5. Unofficially. Granted, the only real way to play this game right now is with friends, or at the very least on public servers, as teammate AI hasn't really been a priority in development right now as of the time of making this video. But the time I have spent playing this game with my friends over the past month or so made up for some of the most engaging and immersive tactical shooter gameplay I have partaken in ever. Let's look at why. It's clear that Ready or Not has been greatly influenced by the SWAT franchise, and since I just talked about the aesthetics of those games, I might as well go over how this game differs in that aspect. Ready or Not is clearly going for a much more realistic direction, both in terms of gameplay and graphics. That's not to say though that this game doesn't have any character. Neon lights and reflective surfaces, coupled with most of the stages here taking place at or close to nighttime, make for some absolutely stunning looking scenery. When the nightclub stage came out and I played it for the first time with my good friend of the channel, Beardless Mage, we literally had to stop and acknowledge to each other how fucking stunning this level looks. And that was just in the reception area. But it doesn't just stop at the graphics either. The sort of environmental storytelling that made SWAT 4 so unique is also present here, especially in the newer and recently reworked levels. But there is a distinction I would like to point out first. SWAT 4 explored some complicated themes with its environmental storytelling, things like religious belief and cults, and the opioid epidemic in America, just to name a few. But it wasn't until I started to record footage for this video that I realized something about Ready or Not. This game is dark. We can start with a more mild example. The gas station is the smallest level in the game at the moment, and yet the amount of clues it is packed with that show what happened here is very impressive. The level I'm going to show after this is much more insidious in tone. It's almost certain that the armed robbers entered the building through the diner entrance and approached the counter where they demanded money. A dog lies dead in a pool of its own blood close by, most likely killed after barking at the aggressors, silencing it for good. I thought that was more something that the police did. The counter window is shattered with what looks like a gunshot, with the bullet flying straight through and into the wall behind. There's no blood to be seen anywhere, suggesting that one of the suspects may have gotten tired of waiting and shot at the glass to get either his hand through or his whole body, whichever would fit. Through the door to the right lies an incapacitated civilian in a pool of blood. A pistol lies nearby, slide locked back. Maybe someone with a concealed carry license that tried to fight back before running out of ammunition. But if you look closer, you realize that the gun is jammed on an empty cartridge case. Things could have maybe gone much differently if this stoppage didn't occur. After dealing with the vigilante, the gunmen made their way back into the back of house area. Phones, notebooks, and snacks on the table suggest the gunshots put an early stop to the break time of a couple of employees. You see phones ringing on the table and on the floor as family members and friends desperately try to make contact. Another body lies up against a couch further back in a room neighboring the convenience store desk room, face beyond recognition. It's unknown whether this employee tried to fight back and paid the price, or whether a gunman with an itchy trigger finger got startled by the poor guy as he walked in. The bloodied footsteps around the body could show the panicked pacing of the man that just accidentally took another person's life. A purse, wallet, and scattered money sitting on the counter by the till, customers running for their life as the first shots ring out across the building. And much more that I probably missed. And that's not even mentioning the lore of the building, if you will. Employees of the month presented on the wall next to the Department of Health grade for the establishment. A B grade seems fitting for the state of some of the rooms here. You can tell that this damage on the wall probably wasn't as a result of the robbery. But the gas station is child's play compared to some of the other maps in Ready or Not when it comes to themes explored through the environment. We're talking topics like and walking through the Vol residence actually feels like a bit of a spoiler though if you haven't played it yourself, so I won't say much about it. The only thing I will say is that the main suspect in this level is very clearly based off of Amos Yee. The crack house is built up in a very believable way, and similarly to the gas station, there are tons of details you can sink your teeth into. Like the backyard tunnel built out of some sort of delusion, either drug-fueled or a more psychotic one. But you make your way up the stairs to the first floor of the main building and you find what looks like a child lying in her bed. At first glance, you'll probably notice the needle lying next to her on the bed. She's clearly being topped up on a steady dose of drugs of one form or another. But look a little closer and, well, it's pretty easy to tell how these junkies have been able to pay for all their drugs. I think that the dark tone that this game is heading towards is fantastic. It's honestly refreshing to see a developer explore really fucked up shit in their game without it feeling like it was thrown in there just for the sake of being shocking or to stir up controversy. Special weapons units are usually called in as a last resort, and seeing a lot of crazy shit is going to be a big part of that job. And that's ultimately one of the big reasons for why Ready or Not is so damn immersive. The other reason lies in the gameplay. It's almost as if the people at Void Interactive played the Elite Force mod and went,
"This is good. Let's make Couronne. With Bloom."
The gunplay in this game is fantastic, even though it's not really the primary focus, as similar to SWAT 4, you're not really meant to use them at all if you can prevent it. It's a combination of the enemy AI and how the players interact with them that really propels this game up into a whole new level. So you enter a room in SWAT 4, no flashbangs or anything, and you see one armed suspect. You shout for compliance and 4 things can happen. The obvious first outcome is that he starts blasting in your general direction. Second option is that he instantly drops his weapon and gives up. Simply running away into another room is a solid option 3. But there is also a fourth, slower giving up animation that has 2 possible conclusions. He either ends up giving up or fakes you out. Once you've played the game enough, you can start to recognize what a suspect is about to do before he even does it, which in the end hurts the replayability of the game, if only slightly. What Ready or Not is trying to do is to have many different suspect behaviors, to have so many possible outcomes that it's too hard to track, if not impossible. You can shoot a suspect and drop them like a sack of potatoes, and then they can still have the chance to get up and pull a knife out if you're not paying attention. Suspects can drop one weapon when surrendering and, while seemingly giving up, pulling another one out of their waistband to try to kill you with. Fuck. Suspects awaiting arrest can pull a knife out on you. They can walk around unarmed at first but have a weapon 2 seconds later. Some suspects act extremely irrational like the junkies in the crack house, and some act like professionals, guns for hire. Handcuffing compliant civilians and suspects will feel familiar to players of SWAT 3 and 4. But this game goes even further in on the realism by making it possible to handcuff dead and injured characters also, and for good reason. And all of these reasons are what makes good teamwork and co-op so damn satisfying in this game. They force you to clear rooms faster, as you're never really safe in any one room until even the downed suspects have been handcuffed and secured. Ready or Not is heading in all of the right directions, and what is already here on offer is looking very promising. But the game is still in development, and there are a number of things that I would love to see added to the game at some point. There are 2 things I can think of that would make this an unmatched experience. One is the current lack of trailers in the game, as in a team that comes in after you've cleared a room and carries suspects and civilians away from the danger to be processed. At the very least, I would like to see a system like SWAT 3 has, where characters you have arrested and reported despawn a few seconds after your team have left the room. Seeing how dedicated to having an immersive experience the devs seem to be though, I think they could go even further. Maybe having actual NPCs coming in and taking them away, with there being a big score penalty if the area ends up being unsafe.
Oh my god.
Alternatively, this could be a rule that players can take on, though it would probably be quite difficult to make that engaging. The second would have to be adjustments to suspect AI, as at the moment they can be annoying with how accurate they are, hitting their first shots at you from across the map at times. The devs seem to be aware of this though and should be fixing it down the line. A little bit more work on friendly AI and a campaign later down the line would also go a long way in my book. I've been Scav Merchant Hub, and I've just slipped an illegal amount of methamphetamines into your jacket pocket. See ya!
I want you to subscribe to me
Scav Merchant Hub
on YouTube. Thank you, cringe.